Wednesday through www.radioamigainternational.com.
Radio Amiga, musical culture, 11 years on air.
Hello, Clic on listeners. Welcome back to Clic on Air. Another Wednesday, another show, and we're going to have a very interesting topic as always to speak with you. And today we have a really amazing guest, very interesting, and he is going to help us with this conversation. You're going to see that it will be a very interesting conversation. But first of all, I want to start with fulfilling my obligations, and I would say hello to Nicolas. Hey man, how are you?
Hello, Luis. Hello, Clic on listeners, Clic on viewers now.
Yes.
Welcome to your favorite English show. Like every Wednesday, we are here to have an excellent topic with an excellent guest, like Luis said before. And today's topic is very interesting for everyone because our guest has different perspectives in his life. He has done many things. So we are going to talk about his work as an actor, of course. We are going to talk about his work in the academic sector as well. So his participation there. And many things about the rights of actors in Colombia. This thing that is very important nowadays because the artists, they need some representation, and of course, that's a topic that we have to talk about that today. So welcome, Clic on listeners. And please don't forget with your participations today. Please.
Yeah, that's right. Remember that today we're going to use the hashtag ClicConnecting, and you can participate and ask your questions and your comments to our guest, Juan Sebastián Arango, who is with us today. Hi, Juan, how are you today?
Hi, Luis, Nicolas, and the other Juan. Thank you for having me. This is a very special invitation. I'm very happy about it.
Okay, and we're honored that you're here. Can you please tell us, our Clic on listeners and Clic on viewers, a little bit about yourself and your background?
Well, I'm a Colombian actor. I'm 48 years old. I was born here in Bogota, and I have lived almost all my life here in Colombia, except for almost a year and a half that I lived in Germany when I was a kid, when I was 4 or 5 years old. And then when I was 25 years old, I went to study theater at the American Academy of Dramatic Arts in New York City, in the United States. And I lived there in the States for 4 years. Then I came back to continue my work as an actor and as a member of my guild. And as you said before, also I'm currently working with a well-known university here in Bogota, and also devoted to my family. I have 2 daughters and my wife. That's basically who I am.
Excellent. Very modest. We know that Juan Sebastián has done so many other things, but we don't have the time to tell them all. But here we are, Clic on listeners, and please, Nicolas, let's let them know our questions for the day. How can they participate?
Yeah, Clic on listeners. As you see, we have an interest guest today. So please participate with the hashtag for today, which is ClicConnecting, and answer these questions. What role do you remember from our guest, from Juan Sebastián Aragón? What role do you remember from him? What character? And also tell us, how do you see the situation for the artists in the times of the pandemic? So express your opinion about that. How do you see this situation about the artists, in this moment that is quite difficult for everyone, but especially for some sectors that we have to focus. We have to pay attention to that. So please participate with the hashtag for today and answer those questions.
Yes, that's right. And before we have a very interesting interview that we want to start with Juan Sebastián, as we said at the beginning. But first, we have a little surprise, and we're going to start with a Clic on music for the first time with a musical break. And what is the first song for Sebastián today, Nicolas?
I have to say that finally we selected good music in the last 2 shows. Very good. So let's click on music. We're gonna listen Los Sabores del Porro by Totola Momposina. Amazing music. So click on music.
Well, welcome back, Clic on listeners, and that was Los Sabores del Porro by the great Totola Momposina. It's not that porro that Nicolas thinking about, it's the kind of music. And remember, today is with Juan Sebastián Aragón, a Clic on acting. What role do you remember by Juan Sebastián, and how do you see the situation of artists during this pandemic? Please participate on Facebook or YouTube. Juan Sebastián, what do you think about that song?
Well, you have no idea how that special that song is for me for several reasons. The first of them being that Totola Momposina is a very good friend of my mother. So one of my first memories as a kid was attending with my mother to several parties at Toto's house, at Toto's home, parties that lasted for three days on end.
Excellent.
It was amazing with all the musicians. So that's how I got acquainted with the Colombian music firsthand when I was a kid. I remember that, as I told you before, I lived in Germany, and I also got the chance to see one of Toto's concerts in Berlin, and it was very exciting to see how all the German people got excited with her music, and so I have a lot of affection for Toto all my life, and admiration, of course. And I had the privilege of having Toto attending to my wedding, and she gave us a little concert at my wedding. That was
Wow.
13 years ago. That was one of the most special memories in my life. And other than that song, I think it's one of the most beautiful songs of the Colombian music. How it portrays all our food and our diversity. And specifically of the porro music, which I am particularly fond of. My mother, who is an anthropologist, her name is Gloria Triana, she made a series of documentaries back in the 80s that it's called Yurupari.
Yes.
Yurupari was an amazing experiment of making these films for TV. And one or two of the episodes were devoted to the Porro Festival in San Pelayo.
It's very close to Lorica, where I am from.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, Lorica is a beautiful town. That part of the country is amazingly beautiful.
You see, Nicolas, he always makes fun of me. He always makes fun of me because I'm from Lorica, but it's very close to San Pelayo, the capital of Porro. It's tremendous.
Lorica and Sahagún and Ciénaga de Oro, all those towns are really beautiful. They have beautiful architecture. They're amazing towns.
Nicolas, why do you think this music, like as Totola Momposina or these other, is so well accepted or well seen outside our country?
Well, because that happens normally here in Colombia. Outside, they appreciate more our culture. Sometimes the Colombians, we don't know even our culture. We don't know our roots, for example. We don't know that, our roots come from Africa, from different parts of Europe as well. And the music is the perfect representation of that. Of course, when you see these people outside, well, I live in England many years, and when I saw a Colombian artist there, you feel like excited, no? You feel like, because it's part of you, no? It's like you feel identified.
At home.
So, yeah, you feel at home. So
you just
and this is an artist. This is Totola Momposina is, well, I consider she's one of the best artists in Colombian history.
Yeah,
and I love her music, but I
just
didn't have the
chance. Sorry, you just wanted to brag about the thing that you were living in England. That's what you want to do, like saying that you were living in England. Well, now we're going to go to the point, and we're going to start our interview with Juan Sebastián Aragón. Remember to participate, click on listeners, click on acting, and ask all the questions you have. And the first part of our interview, of course, is going to be about Juan Sebastián's professional career. you want to start, Nicholas?
Yes, well, we're gonna make some questions, Juan Sebastián, and if we have maybe a question back, we're gonna make it, okay? So just to let you know. So, but okay, let's begin. How did you, so first, why did you decide to, well, to be an actor, which is a huge question. Why did you decide to, it's the question that every single person should make, no, someday. But why did you decide to become an actor? And how was that beginning in the acting? How was that? How was that experience in Colombia, Juan? Please.
Well, I must say that I'm an extremely lucky person. Uh, I believe that all children are created actors and actresses because that's what we do when we play. We pretend to be somebody else and we actually believe it, right? So children are natural actors and they are the best actors ever. And I was a kid. I was 9 years old when one of my mother's friends, a film director, was pre-producing her next film. It was a short film in which it was the story of three kids, one of which was kidnapped by these kind of ogre, like a bad guy, you know, living in the forest. And this friend of my mother's, she started doing all the auditions among her friends' children. So I ended up there, and I got the character. I got the part of in the film. It was my first job when I was 9 years old back in 1981, and well, that was the beginning of it. As I used to say, that was a job that allowed me to miss school with the permission of my mother, and I got paid. So it was like the perfect situation. So after that, I started looking out for auditions. And then in 1982, my uncle's name is Jorge Ali Triana, which is one of the best Colombian directors of film, theater, and television. He was directing back then a series of TV series. It was called Revivamos Nuestra Historia, Reviving Our History. And it was a dramatization of many of the most important historic characters of Colombia, Bolivar and Cordoba and the Communeers and, well, several stories. And actually,
you played Bolivar, right?
No, I played the son of Jose Antonio Galan, the Communeers. That was my first role in TV back in 1982. And years later, Jorge Ali also directed an amazing historic series that is called ¿cómo se llama? Crónicas de una generación trágica. Chronicles of a Tragic Generation. And that's like that's the story of Bogota from the late 1700s, from the time of the Communeers until the Independence Day in 1810, seen from the perspective of a group of young guys from Bogota, among which was Antonio Nariño and the wise man Caldas, all of them. So in that series, I played Nariño's son, Antonio Nariño y Ortega, which was the son of Antonio Nariño y Álvarez. So that's how I got started when I was a kid. And so I was very lucky because I was able to try what my profession was going to be from very early on. And then I was very lucky because I got chances to work in very important series like Los Pecados de Inés de Hinojosa and children's shows like Pequeños Gigantes. And then in the 90s, I did a lot of novelas here in Colombia up until in 1997, actually, I decided to go to New York and study theater.
Yes, you know, the other day we was just interviewing Antonio Morales, whose father was the writer of Los Pecados de Hinojosa.
Right on.
He was telling us that. And you have told us like this big list of characters that you have played so far. But if you had to choose one, which one would you say, like, this is the one that I remember the most? Because, I don't know. I know it's difficult because you have played a lot of, but which one do you remember the most? Which character really leave a mark on you?
Well, that's hard to say. That's hard to say because I've had so many, but I would say that one of them could be Oscar Reyes, which is the character that I played in the original version of what people know as Pasión de Gavilanes.
Yeah, Las
Pasión de
Aguas
Gavilanes
Mansas.
was a remake of Las Aguas Mansas. Las Aguas Mansas was a soap opera that we made back in 1994, and that was the first chance that I got to play a leading character in a soap opera. That was an amazing experience. But then in 1999, I played Santiago Nazar in Chronicle of a Death Foretold in New York in theater, and I got an award given by the actors, the Latin actor community in New York. They gave me the award to the best actor that year, which was an amazing honor. And one of the plays that is considered to be like the most important theatrical play of the 20th century is The Death of a Salesman by Arthur Miller. And we did a production also directed by Jorge Ali back in 2008, perhaps. And in that play, I portrayed the character of Biff Loman, the son of Willie Loman, which is one of the most complex and challenging characters that I've played in my career. But also there's another play that is a romantic comedy that I translated, that I produced, directed, and later on I also acted on it, which was called, in English it's called Breaking Up, and in Spanish we named it Ni Contigo Ni Sin Ti. It was my first production, and it was my first experience as a director, and so that also has a strong meaning for my life.
That was
my
here
career.
in Colombia?
Yeah, that was here in Colombia back in 2013. Originally, it was starred by Manuel José Chávez and Juliette Restrepo. And that play was, it was presented for the good part of 2 years here in Bogota and other 7 cities in the country. It was a very successful experience.
Yeah, you worked with Manuel José Chávez in the Waka films, right?
That's right. Yeah.
I remember that. Okay, let's continue, Nicolas.
Yeah, well, going back to the New York, because it's very important, this part of your life, we will ask you that. So how was that experience in New York? Luis was making fun about my living in London, but I know it's something important, no? When things change in your life, no? So how was
He
that
didn't take
experience?
advantage of that.
So how was that experience, Juan? Did it change it? Some ways of living your life, or the perspective you had back in time?
Absolutely. For several reasons, like living abroad by yourself, in a different culture, devoted to your passion, sharing all the time with people who also share your passion, reading a lot, watching a lot of theater in New York. New York is the capital of theater. And one of the advantages of my school was that at the entrance of my school, there was this hall, and there was a table in the hall. And they had like a tray. And in that tray, they always put tickets, free tickets or discount tickets to watch plays in New York. Everything from the big hits in Broadway to the most independent experiments in theatrical arts, whatever you wanted. So I went to theater like 2 or 3 times per week. So I saw a lot of theater, which was an amazing experience. I worked as any other student. I painted houses. I drove a truck. I babysat. I did a lot of things. A messenger, all the things that students do when you're living in another country.
Interesting, because Some people would say that because you were already acting and you already had a job. So if you decided to move to New York, it was going to be easy, but it's not easy for everybody who's studying and working at the same time. And I just want to ask you, because right now we're watching on TV, we're watching this repetition of Pasión de Gavilanes, which is a big hit, and you said it's based on Las Aguas Mansas. I think it was written by Julio Jimenez or something like that.
Mm-hmm,
And
that's right.
The other day I was reading about an anecdote that you told, and is it the first time you play Armando, which is Rosario Montes' husband, and that you were in the street, sorry, and the woman approaches you and she hit you because you were the bad guy. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, well, it happened several times. You know, people get so involved with the stories, and they it's something that it's very particular, because and I guess I remember somebody told me that sometime that since people, when people are watching television, they're in their bedrooms, you know, they're in their beds watching television, so there might be this maybe idea that we know each other intimately because we're together in their bedrooms. So when people approach actors, they really approach us as if we know it, as if we knew each other from a long time ago. And most of the times it's very charming, very lovely. Sometimes it's uncomfortable because you might be having dinner with your family and friends in a restaurant, and they want you to take a picture with them, and they interrupt you, and they feel in doubt to do that. You know, they grab you by your arm, and then they take you away from your table, and then sometimes it can be a little bit rude. And sometimes they believe that you're the character that you're playing, and once or twice people were like yelling at me because of Armando Navarro.
Oh, okay. Well, we're going to now change a little bit, and we're going to talk a little bit more about your family. You were just like telling us a little bit about your uncle and your mother, but we're going to talk about a little bit about your father. Nicholas has a question, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay. Well, and a message, no? Juan Sebastián is acting. Okay, please. It's fiction.
Yeah.
No,
don't be carried away.
But it's true. They believe. No, when I speak with someone, they believe that is the soap opera is true. No, they say, wow, that's happening real. They say, no, it's fiction. Be careful. Yeah. Well, Juan Sebastián, we know that the Conrad Lorenz Institution, it's very important for you because your father was one of the fundators of this institution. So we would like to ask you about that. What is the importance of this institution for you? And what is the importance of this institution for the academic development in Colombia as well? So please, can you tell us something about that?
Well, thank you for the question. Yeah, indeed, it's a very important institution, not only for me, but the whole country, and for thousands of students that have gotten their careers from Conrad Lorenz University. My father was a psychologist. He studied in Europe. He studied in Poland, and then he brought to Colombia a different approach to psychology. Back then, most of the schools of psychology were centered around psychoanalysis, and my father brought another school of psychology, which is the study of behavior, which used to be called conductism. And so he founded this what at the beginning was only a school of psychology, and then now we have many other programs, both undergraduate and postgraduate. And it's an amazing place to work at. It's devoted to knowledge, devoted to science, devoted to humanism, and I have the privilege to be part of that project, trying to promote culture among the university community, you know, bringing music, theater, dance, which we consider to be a fundamental part of education as deeds of human creation and human creativity. So it's an amazing place. I'm very proud to be part of the Conrad family, and I hope to have the chance to work there the rest of my life, because I'm a very happy person.
Amazing. That's what education and pedagogy does, and people, you know, we feel that because, I mean, we work in this, we're teachers, and we know what it is to feel that satisfaction of teaching somebody something, to somebody. That's amazing, and work for people. That's amazing. So continue with this. We know, and you told us a little bit before, that your mother is Gloria Triana, which is Jorge Triana's sister, and
Right.
she's a director too. And she started this project back in the days. It was called, you were telling about Yurupari. Can you expand a little bit on that? What Yurupari was?
Well, I hope everybody get a chance to see this series, because it's an amazing way, it's an amazing channel to get to know Colombia's cultural diversity. Colombia is an amazing country. Most of us don't know the privilege that we have of having such a diverse culture in music, in gastronomy, in dance, in traditions. It's very beautiful and very diverse. So my mother, who is an anthropologist, and she worked all her life at the National University of Colombia, back in the 80s, she was first commissioned to what was then called the Instituto Colombiano de Cultura, Colcultura, which now is the Department of Culture, or the Ministerio de Cultura nowadays. And she had very many amazing stories. Back in the early 80s, when Garcia Marquez won the Nobel Prize of Literature, in her first interview in Mexico, when he learned that he had won the award, he said that he wanted to receive the prize with cumbias and vallenatos. My mother was working in Colcultura back then, and she took him seriously. So she organized a commission of dancers and musicians from all over the country, because she spoke with the director of Colcultura, and she said, why only cumbias and vallenatos? We have music from the Andean region of Colombia, from the East Plains of Colombia, from the Pacific coast. So she organized a commission of 80 people, of all our musical diversity, and they went to Stockholm in 1982 to accompany Garcia Marquez to receive the Nobel Prize. Which was, there is an amazing documentary at RTVC Play, you know, this platform of contents of the National Television of Colombia. And you can find that documentary there, that it's called Returning to Macondo, I believe. I can check that out, but it's a beautiful documentary telling that story. And afterwards, she was commissioned by a content production company that was owned by the state. It was called Audiovisuales. Audiovisuales depended from the Ministry of Communications back then. And they put up this project, which my mother named Yurupari. Yurupari is a Native American tradition. It has many meanings. It's a god. It's a flute. It's a dance. It has many meanings. Yurupari. So my mother thought that Native American word encompasses all the diversity of our culture. So she made approximately 50 movies.
Wow.
30 minutes each, that were they were made in film. They were made in 35 millimeters, and they were sponsored by the state to be presented in commercial television. This Yurupari was aired every Saturday at 8 p.m., I believe. And each episode is devoted to a Colombian tradition from all of our regions, from the Pacific coast, the Caribbean coast, the Andes, the East Plains, the Amazon. So it's a great tool for students, for universities, for anthropologists to get to know all our diversity in all the aspects that I mentioned already.
Well, thank you. That is something, Click on listeners, that we want to retake and rewatch because it sounds a lot of very interesting. And remember that it's something that you can always watch and learn about your culture, as Sebastián said, is very diverse and very rich. We're going to continue with the second part of the interview in a moment. Now we're just going to click on music again for the second musical break. Nicolas, what is our song? And remember, click on acting, click on listeners. A lot of participations today. Thank you.
but it's because of Juan. Luis, no, it's because of you.
Okay.
Okay, let's click on music. Let's listen. She's Got Away by Billy Joel. Click on music.
Well, here we are back, and that She's Got Away with Billy Joel. And I noticed that Sebastián was, like meditating, reflecting on that song. Why is that, Sebastián? Juan?
I was asking myself if you guys are spying on me because you know all of my favorite songs. How come?
That is part of our investigation group headed by Nicolas.
Well, I was a teenager back in the 80s, so Billy Joel was one of my favorite singers and composers. So that's a very beautiful song.
Yeah, that is something that Nicolas needs to learn to appreciate.
plus the new generations, they have to acknowledge something, because we now live in the time of Spotify and Apple Music, where you have all the music available anytime. But back then, we had our music. It was I had like 3-4 records when I was a teenager. So what did I listen to? My 4 records all the time.
Yeah, with the Walkman
and Billy Joel's was one of those. So that was something that occupied a high percentage of my time.
Well, before the musical break, we were speaking about Juan Sebastián's family, and now we're going to talk about a little bit different topic, which is I don't know, it's very popular right now because some of a complication that it has, and we're going to talk about the current situation of actors in Colombia. And what is like we want you to talk about what is this law 1403? What does that mean? What does that law refers to?
Well, this has to do with the law for creativity. It's a law what in English is called copyright, and in Spanish is called derecho de autor. It's not exactly as copyright, because in the legal world, there are like 2 universes. There is the universe of the Anglo-Saxon law, which encompasses the United Kingdom and United States and perhaps Canada. Yeah. And then we have the other universe, which is the French tradition, which is the continental tradition, which is the kind of legal structure that we use here in Colombia. When you have something that it's protected by copyright, like music, like acting, like writing, like software writing, it's because these kind of products, they have a long life. They produce a lot of money throughout the times. It's not like selling a sandwich, because if I sell a sandwich, then you eat it and the sandwich is done. That's it, right? But with a soap opera, like for example, Pasión de Gavilanes, we did Pasión de Gavilanes back in 2003. But Pasión de Gavilanes is still alive, very much alive. Not only in Colombia, but in many countries. Pasión de Gavilanes is a product of our creativity, written by Julio Jiménez, right? And performed by Dana Garcia and Paola Rey and Natasha Klaus and Mario Cimarro and all the actors that we worked together, the musicians who wrote the music that was also very successful in the soap opera. And that soap opera, it's being showed in many countries since then, not only in Latin America, but around the globe. And that makes money for TV channels, for TV distributors, for a lot of people. And before that law that you mentioned, it made money for a lot of people except for us, which is just plain unfair.
Yes.
We
we
have
the ones who created, no? Which
exactly,
is not fair.
especially talking about a community of people, of working people that are very vulnerable. You listen all the time in the news stories about very famous actors who die in poverty, and oblivion.
Yes, because they are almost unprotected by a government law. And talking about a country that speaks a lot about protecting creativity. Okay, Nicolas, do you have another question for Juan Sebastián?
Yeah, so, okay, yes, going back to that, it's, well, now maybe there is a kind of protection with this law, but also probably there is some, maybe some gaps in the law or something that it has to be improved. So I don't know, what can you tell us about that one, maybe?
Well, it is. We have that law since 2010. This law is well known as the Fanny Mickey law. And what we need is many companies to respect the law, because there are several companies like the private channels in Colombia, RCN and Caracol. They respect the law and they pay for our rights. And Señal Colombia and all the TV regional channels, they are paying right now. But go ahead.
Sorry. Recently, I saw a video on Instagram with a lot of actors. You included Julian Roman, and you were claiming of those companies, the private television companies like DirecTV and Movistar. What was that?
Cable companies.
Cable. Yes.
Cable companies like DirecTV, Claro, Tigo Une, and Movistar, which they represent 80% of the market. They are not paying our right. They have to pay. The law says that they have to pay for our right. They pay exactly the same right they pay to musicians, and they're not paying the actors. Some of these companies, which are global companies, some of these companies pay the actors of other countries, and they're not paying the Colombian actors. So this is not fair. And so we are asking publicly for nothing more than for the law to be observed. That's all we are asking for.
And I know that you are part of, I don't know how to say that in English, but it's ACA, the ACA association. What exactly is that, and what is that its role with the acting community?
We have two organizations. We have ACA, which is our guild, our union, right? And that union, it works for the actors' working rights, for how many hours we work in a day, that we can work in the right conditions, it protects our working rights. And we have another organization, which was the one that I presided a few years ago, that it's called Actores Sociedad Colombiana de Gestión. Actores, it's a collective management society. It's like Psycho or a Simpro, right? It deals with the copyrights of the actors. So this is the company that it's dealing with that issue right now. That's the company that has to sit down with the channels and with the cable operators, with movie houses, with the hotels, and not only in Colombia, not only in Bogotá, but in the whole country, and not only in Colombia, but in the whole world. This company, Actores Sociedad Colombiana de Gestión, is the one in charge of collecting that money and distribute the money among the actors whose plays and soap operas and films were exploited commercially by all these companies.
Well, that is something that a lot of people don't know about, because a lot of people just stay with the thing that they see on television. I mean, it's all glamorous and these big productions, but what is going behind scenes, that's what is not known. But as we anticipated, this has been a very interesting conversation and a very interesting topic with an amazing actor and a great person. And we have a lot of participation on the social networks. Nicolas, do you want to help us with that, please?
Yeah.
You have any comments?
Yeah, Juan Sebastián, as you know, our students watch the program, so they have a lot of questions for you. So I will read some of them, and if we have the time, maybe you can answer.
Sure.
Okay, so we have, Diego Fernando. Juan, you are participating in other productions outside Colombia? Outside Colombia, yeah? I mean, the question, have you participated in other productions outside Colombia, maybe in Mexico or other
No, not
countries?
really. Well, I did a lot of theater when I lived in New York, and some of the productions that I worked in, like Cartel de los Sapos, that was one of the productions that somebody was mentioning in YouTube. We did many scenes in Mexico, but no, most of my work has been done here in Colombia.
Well, I had Diana Calderon, and she said, did you have anything of, or something, this case of Antonio Navarro in you? Something.
Well, I hope not. I hope not. Maybe the deep love that I feel for my wife, but it's my love, my real Juan Sebastián's love is not violent, is not jealous.
It's not toxic.
But it's not toxic, but it's devoted.
Okay. Oh, we have here Diego Fernando. Says like if you give acting lessons or acting classes.
I have done in the past, and that's something that I might do in the future, perhaps. I like it very, very much, but currently I don't have the time to do that. Actually, I'm devoted to do digital contents. I have a podcast that I invite you guys to check it out. It's called Filosóficamente Liberal, and in this podcast, what I'm trying to do is to have very informal conversations with a variety of people about sexuality, about politics, about science, about arts, about every topic that interests me. And I enjoy that kind of conversations a lot, and I hope you do too. So you can check them out. They're available not only in Spotify and Apple Podcasts, in every platform. Also in YouTube, there's a version with video. So I encourage you to watch those episodes. And if you want to leave the comments and subscribe, we can get in touch and we can interchange ideas, which is the thing that I love the most.
Nice. Remember, Clic listener, that is another way to get in touch with culture. This is a podcast. Do you have another comment, Nico?
Linda says, apart from acting, do you do another art expressions different than acting? What?
Well, somehow yes, because in the last few years, instead of acting, I've devoted myself to produce and direct. Okay. I directed that play that I told you about, and the other play that I directed that I'm very proud of. It's an American play. It's called A Raisin in the Sun, which is considered to be the most important African American play in the American scene. And it was never done. It had been never done in Colombia, and as far as I know, it was never done in Spanish either. So I made this association with a group of African Colombian actors, and we decided to put on this play in Colombia as an exercise of inclusiveness and dignity. And this play, it's an amazing text that speaks about dignity and the importance of dreams. So we decided that we wanted to do it with the highest conditions possible. And we decided that we were going to do this play only if we were able to open this play in the most important theater of Colombia, which we did back in 2018 at Teatro Colón. It was an amazing experience for 2 weeks. And then the second step of our dream was to take this play in those conditions and take it to those towns where most of the African Colombian communities live. So we did it also in 2019. We did a performance in Cali, and we did another performance in Quibdó, to an amazing reception in both cities. And we were already working on the performances in Cartagena and Barranquilla when this pandemic hit us, and put everything on hold. But I hope that when this ends, and I hope this ends perhaps by the middle of the next year, we can resume our dream of continue to take this play to many parts of Colombia.
Well, you see, a lot to watch.
Yeah, which is something that we really need now as a society. Maybe the thing you do, like dignity, is something that we have to learn as a Colombians as well, because our history. So obviously, the work you do through the show, it's like to teach, which is something that we need to understand in this moment.
Yes, you see, a lot of interesting projects to see and to enjoy for Clic listeners and ourselves. I got another question by Diana Aguilar, who says, "Hi, Juan Sebastián. What would you change on the recruitment of actors in Colombia, if you could?"
Well, I believe in liberty. I believe that people should do whatever they can, as long as it's legal and ethical and moral. So what I would like to see is for actors to study, to take their career seriously, to read a lot, to watch a lot of the arts community work. They should go to theater. They should go to concerts. They should read a lot. Reading is very important. And I would ask actors to be conscious that they're part of a community, so they should belong to our sindicato, to our union, to ACA, and they should also belong to our collective management society, because we have rights, but we also have duties, and duties are very important to make the rights happen.
Nice. Well, you see, Nicholas, yeah, another?
Yeah, Diana Calderon has written many comments. So Diana says, "What is the best? What is the best advice? Yeah, for young people, Juan. What did you advise for young people in Colombia and at the university here as well? So, what can you say to them?"
My obsession is critical thinking.
Yeah,
we are social animals. We have a culture that has brought us to the place that we are, but all of these the concept of a nation, the concept of money, the concept of many things that we believe on are created by men, by humanity. There are fictions that were created by us. So we have to be aware that we can change those narratives, and that we have to have strong reasons to believe what we believe. So to study critical thinking, to study how to build arguments, to know about fallacies, to know about to know how to think well. That's very important, because
to spot fake news.
Exactly. If we believe in democracy, and if we believe that people should be endowed with voice and vote, we have to promote education, and we have to promote critical thinking, because we have to make decisions that are going to affect all of us. So yeah, that's my obsession. Critical thinking. Study critical thinking.
Nice. That's a nice way to close this interview. This has been an amazing time. And as you see, Juan Sebastián is very worried about critical thinker, as we are, because that's the only way that we have to be free. If our mind is free, we can think well, or we can be critical of our society, which is not perfect, it's not always perfect. So we have to be critical. And we want to say thank you to Juan Sebastián for being with us today. This was an honor and a pleasure to interview you. And thank you for coming. Thank you for accepting our invitation, Juan Sebastián. Thank you again.
Thank you, guys. It has been a wonderful time, and invite me over. I'll be very glad to join you again, guys.
Nice, because it would be nice to have you again, especially to talk about your projects at the Conrad Lawrence and after the pandemic.
because
Sure.
yeah, we skip some questions about that because of the time. But of course, we have to go deeper, maybe about the academic goal of this institution, which is important to mention as a different way of pedagogy, as a different way of, as an alternative, to traditional education. So yeah, probably in the future we can have you again.
Yeah, and remember
Sure.
that this is your house and the microphone is always open for you here at Clic on Air. Thank you again. Thank you, Clic on listeners, for listening and for watching. And see you next Wednesday. Thank you, Juan Sebastián, again.
Thank you, and see you next time. Thank you, guys.
Okay.
Be safe.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, listeners. Bye-bye. Thanks. Critical thinking.
Yes.
Want to learn languages and culture? Clic on Air is your best option. Come and join